Hello, everyone. I'm Christina, and it's been about a week since I've been able to talk to everybody, and I'm really sorry about that. It wasn't my fault. Had some terrible internet issues, and so I'm just now getting back up. But I was keeping an eye on everything, and I don't expect necessarily a whole lot of people to be on here at first because I really didn't even give a heads up, really, except to say that I do it today. But I'm going to go ahead and welcome everyone in advance for being here, and we're going to get to it in just a second. I want to welcome everyone that is here already. Be sure to go ahead and hit like and make a comment. Let me know you're here. Hi, Christy. It's always good to see you, girl. Always. Hello. All right. Love that thumbs up. Also, want to encourage anyone that hasn't subscribed to subscribe and hit that bell for all notifications. And don't forget to check out some of my other videos. But I'm sure that all of you are kind of wondering, what kind of update we're going to have today. Hello, Jeff Jacobs. Good to see you too, honey. Already. All right. And I think the most pressing, I would say today, that I really feel like we should talk about is the Ring of Fire. And the Ring of Fire is really a major volcanic region from, East China, Japan area, Indonesia, all the way to the west coast of the United States, down to the west coast of South America. And Mount St. Helens is having some incredible problems, okay, especially with a lot of magma infill and earthquakes. And you can really see the stress that the west coast of America is really under right now. It's so severe, all right? And the markers were being looked at for the west coast of South America with certain volcanoes going off, certain earthquakes going off, and all of these things are happening. In fact, today California was hit with a couple of pretty nice sized earthquakes, a 4.4 and a 3.6, but there was another one. What was that? Chile, 6.1 magnitude. Okay, it was kind of deep, but still, that's a pretty big one. And if you look at just today's earthquake map, it's not just the earthquakes. A lot of people say, "Oh, we had this many earthquakes," but to me, it's not so much how many we had; it's where that we had them and what that really means. And if you look at the west coast of America, especially around the Washington, Oregon area, Alaska, going down to California, you see those stress points, and the pressure is just continued to build going from west to the east coast of the United States. So you're going to see Yellowstone acting up. You're going to see that West Texas is acting up. And I tell you, you will stop seeing West Texas have these earthquakes when California finally relieves all of that pressure. But in the meantime, we're seeing problems with the Mount St. Helens area. It's not just Mount St. Helens, it's a lot of the volcanoes. So when you look at the earthquake map, I don't want you to just look at magnitude. I want you to look at where these are, okay? We had a couple in the Mediterranean Sea around Italy and Greece. It's kind of interesting, and we already know that Africa is kind of pulling apart, so that's not anything unusual. But what you will see is around Queensland, Australia, that for the past few years we've had a lot of fires going on, and we've had a lot of earthquake problems going on with Indonesia again. So you can see that somewhere east of Australia and north, there's some serious problems going on. So much heat is underneath that area that I think it can be proven that there's a lot of magma underneath there that is also rising, okay? Because magma is becoming more and more of an issue. Ready. Hello, Derek. Hello, Team Jesus. Hello, Watchman. People are missing the point. They're supposed to believe on the sun. They are looking for proof like Thomas. Well, that's always true. That is true. People do need proof. But sometimes there can be proof out there and they just don't want to see it too, I always like to call them ostriches, you have your facts about what's going on in the world, and when you see that we're having so much of that, that it really does come down to faith, because these problems are so big that men can't really fix it. Not really. They're looking for more ways to escape the problems, because there's no way that we're going to be able to contain absolutely everything. And so far, to my knowledge, nobody's been raptured. So we still don't know how long we have to go. And so we need to be prepared for all possibilities. Okay. Okay, we're going to go on. Okay, right now, the news is reporting that California is being overrun with COVID illnesses and preparing for lockdown. And that did not go over well at all, because thousands of Californians are protesting the lockdown, but they're not the only one. But it was said by someone in that state that it's not really a matter of for the cops, for the authorities, as much as it is a personal responsibility for every person. And I think that's where I stand, is that we all have to decide for ourselves what risks we can personally and individually take and not take. And sometimes there is just no easy decision when things get that desperate to a certain breaking point. All right. And it looks like California is not the only one, like I said, protesting lockdowns. The protests are going they're going on everywhere. We got London protesters. Thought this was funny. They're wiping their bums with their face masks in protest. I'm like, well, that's one thing you can do with them. Okay. And you won't believe this. In London, they even arrested Santa. Yes, that's true. They arrested Santa. Okay. Athletes hold state capitol rally over restrictions to sports. Hundreds of New Yorkers are protesting outside of a bar. I can understand it. I think it's somewhere they were saying around Staten Island. Michigan, there's a judge that shut down an order to reopen. And protesters are even taken to the streets in Pakistan after months of frustrations over lockdown. There are riots in Paris. Canada is protesting the lockdown, and I'm all over Canada. I'm seeing lockdowns. And then there's a little place called Osha, Oregon. They're holding a protest over a $90,000 fine at 4 gym locations. 90,000. We're having that many issues. People are trying to keep their employees and their families kept, and they fine $90,000 at a gym. Okay, that's crazy. All right, so it's no wonder that people are protesting. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at any comments. Yeah. Well, there's definitely a lot of fear going on, and I wanted to talk about that with y'all. And be sure to share these videos if y'all have the social media to do that. I haven't seen a couple of my friends here in a little while. I mean, besides the fact that I haven't been on here, I haven't seen them in a couple of weeks, really. But I wanted to go ahead and give a perspective, okay, over these deaths that have been going on due to COVID, and versus the need to go back to work. It's more of risk versus a benefit kind of look at things in the numbers side. Now, because 2019 is still the only year that was completed, 2020, we haven't quite completed that yet. So the numbers wouldn't necessarily be out. So I went ahead and just at least pulled the numbers from 2019 on a few things. Okay. And I wanted to know how many U.S. citizens died in 2019 from a few different things. One was murder. In the U.S., they say there was 16,425 murders in the U.S. But according to the Global Burden of Disease study, just over 405,000 people died from homicide in 2017. This was around 3 times the number killed in armed conflict and terrorism combined. How many U.S. citizens died from the flu? Preliminary, all this is from Google, okay? I didn't have to go crazy looking. So if Google has a problem with it, they can check their own numbers, but this is what it said, okay? From the flu, preliminary CDC estimates for the 2019-2020 influenza season indicate that as of April 4th, 2020, between 24,000 and 62,000 people lost their lives to the flu. How many died from alcohol? Excessive alcohol use is responsible for more than 95,000 deaths in the United States each year, or 261 deaths per day. Suicide was the 10th leading cause of death overall in the United States, claiming the lives of over 48,000 people. Suicide was the leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, and the fourth leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 35 and 54. Drug overdose. The latest release covers the 1-year period ending in February 2019 and shows that there was an estimated 2.9% decline in the total number of overdose deaths in the U.S. from a year ago. An estimated, get this number, 69,029 people died of drug overdose during that period. Car accidents, 38,800 people. Heart disease, get this, about 655,000 Americans die from heart disease each year. That's 1 in every 4 deaths. Cancer, about 1,600 deaths per day. CNBC reports that more than 2,000 deaths per day are happening due to COVID. So really, considering the other ways that are popular for us to go by, that we tend to go by, our own passing, that really it's barely competing with heart disease and cancer. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. And right now they're reporting that COVID deaths in America so far are about 281,000. So if we've got 655,000 Americans die from heart disease every year, and so far this year we've had 281,000 deaths to COVID, even though the number is shocking, it doesn't really, in my mind, warrant the lockdowns that we're having. Again, we have to say, what is really going on here? Why are they stripping us of every right? Like they actually care about our lives when we know dang well they don't. They don't. I mean, I'm not saying everybody doesn't care, but you can tell the ones that don't. Not because I don't want to start bashing just everybody. Derek says everything is getting more expensive and harder to obtain ID cards, births to see. That's true, right? I mean, just in order to get an ID, just for instance, you have to go online and make an appointment, which might not even be in your town, for 3 months ahead of time. You can't go into the Social Security office. You can't go, and you already know this, you can't just go in there, all right? But we're looking at these numbers that still, even though they're high, they don't make sense. It doesn't justify shutting down the whole world. It doesn't, especially when we're capable of making our own decisions. Say if we've got someone that's more fragile or has a lower immune system, or those that can at least stay home. But, a lot of us are troopers. A lot of us work hard. Some of us work 3 jobs, but we got to be able to go to those jobs. And, people need to be able to unwind too. And all this stress is just not helping. I'm going to bet that this year, when the numbers finally come out, that the murder and suicide rate was a lot higher this year than in 2019. How much you want to bet? Okay. AA Strumming, I'm so glad to see you again. Hi, C. Jacob. AA Strumming says, right, Watchman, totally agree. The Watchman says, China 9 months ago showed children in a gymnasium all shaking as if they were dying. We know this is not true. It does not affect children in a way like this in large quantities. What's strange, though, Watchman, is that I've been starting to hear about they're saying that neurological issues are being caused by this, virus, right? So I wonder, about 9 months ago. That's interesting. I mean, it's just one of those things you just kind of think, and you just like, okay, there's something with that, I'm going to put it in my pocket for later. You know what I mean? I heard major in New York closed all the restaurants but kept the restaurant he owned open, and people got, I know, all right. And then you start thinking about all these politicians that are having all these Christmas parties that we're just not allowed to have, with tons and tons of people there. Because I was kind of wondering, why is the president, the first lady, decorating the White House like they plan on a bunch of people seeing it? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We're having financial issues, and they've got these huge trees, and they're having these big posh parties, and they're just like, oh, do as I say, not as I do. We're better than you, remember? Yeah. Okay. People will need to get their vaccination cards in order to workshop. And that's right, Team Jesus, because I'll tell you right now, they're already starting that. Now, Biden, he's saying for now, but he says yes to whatever on a regular basis. He says, well, I'm not going to make vaccinations mandatory. If you don't want to have it, you don't have to. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe it. You know why? Because he's a politician, and politicians always do exactly the opposite of what they say they're going to do. Okay. They also kind of had that chit chat about the mark back in my church days, that it would seem voluntary at first, but it would become mandatory. Okay. And the way that Canada's talking is that if you don't take the vaccine, you can't move around, and exactly, you cannot work. That's already happening. Oh, hi, Blue Light. Yes, this is live. Yeah, caught me. Okay. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for that compliment. Live blue light. Oh gosh, the stimulus check. You just had to bring up the stimulus. Okay. From what I'm seeing, the last few bills that they even tried introducing, even though they got knocked down, there was no talk about stimulus checks for us in any of that paperwork, even to this day. Okay. They're talking about corporate bailouts, state bailouts. Oh yeah, maybe we can get another check out there, but and yeah, we did this one pass through the Senate, but can it make it through the House? And it's all this really iffy information. We've been waiting for months for this. We've been waiting for months to get out of whatever crazy lockdown this is, and they just keep pushing it, keep pushing it, keep pushing it. You know what? We'll see Christmas before we see that stimulus check. How much you want to bet? Yeah, you're waiting for Christmas, you're going to be waiting past New Year's too. And they'll be like, oops, psych, you get a forced vaccine instead. Okay. That's good. That's good, Watchman. I'm glad you two are friends. And it's okay to have different ideas. That's the whole point of, this channel really is to explore those different ideas, because we can get a lot of insight from each other sometimes, as long as you're playing fair and, being cool with each other. That's good. That's fine with me. Okay. We want to get back to what we were talking about. Okay. So as you can see, that if we just looked at how many people die each year from heart disease, which is 655,000 people, compared to the 281,000 people in America that have died this year, the numbers do not justify these lockdowns, period. Because that's just one way. We just discussed like 7 popular ways: cancer, suicide, car accidents, homicide, okay, drug overdose, okay, alcohol abuse. Just one of those outdid all the numbers. So it really doesn't make sense. But see, here they are. We got to ask, are these lockdown measures really doing anything to slow the spread, or are they killing our job security? Okay, I hate to yell. I'm sorry. Okay, and here's another thing about the vac. Okay, is they have a vac, right? But there are several mutated strains. So what are they really? They would have to test for your exact strain and have a different vac for each one, and there's no guarantee that it wouldn't continue to mutate again, because that's what viruses do. They evolve in order to outsmart their predators. Okay, so there's a good chance that the more that we try to combat this medically, the worse it's going to get all by itself. Okay, not only that, a couple of days ago, Tucker Carlson, I love that guy. If he wasn't married and it was 10 years ago, or I don't know, or earlier in my life, man, that's one guy I'd be like, I love you, gonna marry you, Tucker. You're amazing. Love him. He's so smart. And but he did a News Times speech about the hypocrisy of lockdowns across America, especially as how it pertains to Christmas. Okay, and then Dabu77 just reported that Canadians have been warned by the chief medical advisor the VAC refusals will mean no freedom to move around. We were just talking about that. Okay. But I did want to say, for those of you who remember this certain video I did about Claire Edwards, it was just discussing all of her concerns about this whole subject and what this totalitarianism is really meaning for us. I really just pulled the notes out of what she said, but YouTube decided to give me some kind of warning and take down my video. And note this, okay? This is the second time they've done that. And the first time I had hit on something that they weren't ready to come out yet. Okay, that was with the South Atlantic anomaly. They just totally got rid of that one. This is the second time they've done this. The first time they had said the South Atlantic anomaly video was taken down because it was hate speech. It's a scientific thing. There were facts there. It wasn't, I don't hate the South Atlantic anomaly. I'm not hating on it. I was just, but that was their excuse. This time it's for medical misinformation. First of all, I didn't know how to be a doctor to talk about what somebody else has reported on publicly. We should be, I didn't say these were my opinions. I didn't say this was my science or anything like that. I said, this is what she said, but it went down for medical misinformation. So I just really think that there should be particular interest in, go ahead, find that video. If you look up Claire Edward, okay. Because I'd really, because I looked back through my notes and I couldn't figure out what medical misinformation they were talking about, to be honest, still. Oh, in other news, y'all might have heard that the House passed a bill to decriminalize marijuana, but the vote might not make it through the Senate. Now, we have to start thinking about all the time that's been lost, all the patients that it could have been cured, at least helped a lot with this medication, okay? All the people that, if they could have otherwise passed their drug test, they could have had jobs because they are productive, they want to work, okay? And all the freedom from inmates that were lost from this drug, it's not okay. And if they stop it at a federal level, it gives the states the right to do what they want, but I already know what they want. They want to make it so that they make money off of our backs, as usual, one way or another, whether it's legal or not, they're going to find a way so that they're the only ones that are in control of anything, It's all about money, especially when you find out that over 60% of the people in America are ready to legalize that and be done with all the drama. Then you realize it's always been about control. Let's go ahead and take a look at the comments really super fast. Okay. Dabu reported that the $90 billion will not be giving people the stimulus unless they possibly take the vac. Control. And I know that I named this video, it's time for people to start thinking about post-impact, and we'll get more to that in just a minute. Thank you for the thumbs up. How many strains? Well, from what I'm hearing, there are at least 5, and there could be more coming. Okay, this isn't even really being discussed a whole lot yet, because I mean, if these strains are new, then they really don't know that much about them. And if they're pushing a certain shot, then they probably don't want you to realize that one shot's not going to do it. And that, oh yeah, they're going to do it not once a year, but not just once, but every single year. Okay. They're getting these vials out as fast as they can. I'm telling you, as a ex-pharmacy technician, this is not okay. I promise you, this is sick what's happening. You can't just go shooting up people if you're that concerned about people's lives, right? And not everybody deals with medication the same way, all right? There are adverse reactions, okay? There are prior medical conditions. There are, if you're taking certain medications, you can't mix that with certain other medications. You understand? Or it can kill you. But they're trying to put this on everybody. Over 7 billion people. Does it really sound like they're concerned for your life throwing this through the FDA? No. I'm telling you, something is up. And lately, when I've been getting these feelings, I won't know exactly what it is, but I'll be like, I got a funny feeling about that person, or I've got a funny feeling about this. And it becomes very, very clear very, very soon why I felt strange about a certain person or a certain situation, which tells me that my gut feelings are right on. And I'm telling you, something is not right in this whole vac situation. Okay. Yeah, Bill's behind it. Okay. Oh yeah, they're gonna take it on camera. Okay. Yeah. Okay, one, that's right. Do we know what's in there? So that's first of all. But you got to remember, okay, these people, these presidents are related. Okay. First and foremost, y'all need to remember that they come from a certain family line. They have to come from royalty. Okay. So they are already programmed to do what they are told. They are already programmed to serve their agenda. Okay. So yeah, they could stand right up there and I mean, have you ever seen that clip with Bill Clinton, how he was just sitting there like in a trance and they're putting makeup on him because he's a monarch? Okay. Got to think about that. Of course they're going to, do their whole puppet thing. Oh, look, I'm taking the vaccine. You should take it too. We're safe. Of course you are, you mouthpiece. Bet you take anything, huh? Any kind of phony information. Just go ahead and keep feeding us that garbage. Okay, I'm sorry. I think that's just crazy. Oh, the presidents will do it. Y'all go right ahead. All right. Hello, Art by Adrian. I've missed you so much. I haven't seen you in a while. Seems like Trump just does whatever he wants. I think it's kind of true and it's kind of not. Okay. Because there's always that checks and balances thing happening. I can say that he didn't get to do everything he wanted to do. Okay. Trump, there's more than one royal bloodline. Let's just say that. Okay. There's more than one. Okay. There is. But it all comes down to the requirements that they have. All right. Connects to my last comment about the family thing. Hi, Adrian. Okay. All right. So we're going to get back to what we were talking about. Did I miss? Because I know. Yes, we did. We wanted to talk about some of the mass animal fish deaths that's what I want to do, is talk about that. Now, this website, they're not able to keep up with all of them, but since I mentioned the minxes to go in November, there have been a few listed, and I believe those are end time signs because we knew that the animals and the fish would start dying, right? Along with us in the end times. That's when all of it would start. And since I reported about the minks, we had on November 9th, thousands of animals dead due to flooding in Honduras. Hundreds of dead fish wash up in Spain. November 16th, again, thousands of dead fish wash up in a lake in Milton Keynes, England. Same day, 6+ dead whales wash up on the coast of France. So we had France, England, and Spain, which is all in about the same area, on the same day, have thousands of dead fish and 6+ whales show up dead. Something was going on that day. And then November 27th, we had 151,000 chickens killed due to avian flu. Micah, can you hand me the sugar bowl, sweetie? I feel weird. Thanks, babe. Y'all have like blood sugar issues, and because I'm epileptic, I can have sugar seizures, so I have to correct that as soon as I feel weird. It hits fast. Woo. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all, keep down. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my familia around. Y'all know how it is. Gotta have your family, or what else? What are we living for, right? If you can't protect and love your family. Yeah, the Antichrist is definitely alive. That's my personal opinion, but oh yeah. We're in the end days. He's alive, and he's working in the background. He's already in power somewhere. Okay. Oh, and man, it's so funny you should ask me what I think of Isaac Newton's 2060 prophecy, because I actually have a little bit to say on that. First of all, there's his main issue. The main issue I have with his 2060 prophecy was simply because he was basing it off of Revelation 12 in a lot of ways, okay? And he changed what the Bible said days to years, and the Bible never said you should switch what the Bible said in the first place. When it said 1,000 days is 1,000 days is to, you know, like, it's like a day, and a day like 1,000 years. It's saying that, you know, how time passes for us. You know, sometimes it can pass really fast in a blink of an eye, but it was a long time, or it can seem like a short time lasted forever. In no way said that you're supposed to change those numbers from days to weeks or hours. It is what it says it is. Okay. Second of all, that Revelation 12 thing, since nobody can actually agree on what Revelation 12 means, except for that personal, that woman, unless you're that woman, you'll have no personal idea of what that 1,260 days means, which is why Isaac Newton didn't know where to start the timing of his prophecy. But we're nowhere near 2060. I mean, within 40 years, yeah, you could say relatively close, but no, we're in the end times now. Okay. All right, we're gonna go. Okay, we already talked about the mass animal fish deaths. Okay, we talked about how many deaths we're having every year anyway, before this pandemic started. Okay, we talked about how they got rid of one of my videos. And okay, what I do want to go over real quick is just a brief look at how our global food chain is doing right now. And then I just like looked in last week. All right, we're having ongoing disruption to our global food supply. Okay, we're having issues and challenges. Vegetable meat. Okay, they're asking if we're afraid to try, to be honest with you. Yeah, I actually am. And I love vegetables. I'm terrified of eating that meat. Okay, we're looking at risk management programs for beef farmers in Ontario. Okay, we're looking at how this is affecting our ability to feed ourselves, and they're attacking the farms. I mean, you can just look and you can see that there are still farmers that are committing suicides. All right. It's killing our ability to buy food affordably and even obtain it. We had a cyclone in Nivar that extensively damaged crops. Okay, and that was just a few days ago. Tomato farmers record post-harvest losses. All right. And then this one weird one that says Monday mycotoxin and crop report for November. Ooh, that doesn't sound very good now, does it? All right. Oh, well, I'm really glad that you brought it up, though. You know? Yeah, you know, I can understand that. And, you know, but you got to wonder how many times, like if Bob is listening to someone else or coming up with his own numbers, you know, either way. I mean, it's interesting. I always like to at least look so that we can really discern that and talk meaning. And, you know, what do I know? I'm just saying that I have questions about Newton's ability to really get the timing right. Okay. I mean, besides, we're smart. We're smart. We can tell that something's happening now. By 2060, this may have been over for 20 years by that time. Okay, which wouldn't be necessarily a miss, not far, but we can tell something's wrong. Okay, sorry, my kids. All right. Hello, Maccabeus. Good to see you. Thank you, Derek. There's only 2 jobs you're allowed to keep when you're wrong. One of them is to be the weatherman, and the other one is politician. Yeah, well, they're both wrong half the time, aren't they? Oh, okay. I also wanted to give you a quick, brief rundown of what I heard from Mike from around the world on Thursday. Am I going through the whole thing? Absolutely not. Okay, wherever I end, it's definitely not like the conversation. It's close to being over, but like I said, I'm not trying to take over their show or anything. There are just certain things that I like to bring out. Okay, this time they were talking about something I brought up previously, and not long before, called Dark Winter. His video is called Dark Winter, Al-Muamwa, Alien Technology, Mike from around the world. That was the name of his video, okay? And so they talked about Dark Winter, the code word for the simulation that was done in 2001 concerning bioweapons and the chances of something happening. So he says that we're closely reaching the simulation point. And he started talking about Class A agents and how they're a high priority. So Paul's like, what is that? And so Mike starts talking about how they're bioweapons, biological contaminants, or diseases that pass from person to person that continues to expand. Okay. And so even he begins to talk about how you have to narrow down the strain in order to treat it anyway. We could be looking at a virus that is still missing some of its acting components, meaning we're not done yet. What kind of active components do we have left? Could it be bleeding from the eyes? And, is that what we're up to? Because we have to make people immune somehow. And like I said, if we keep messing with this thing, it's going to mutate where we can't do anything. Okay, so usually immunities happen naturally. Okay, this VIRUS can fulfill its maturity rating and cause effects. Can cause, didn't say will necessarily, but it can. All right. He's saying it jumped back into animals, and those animals had to be killed. The millions of minks were a minor story compared to what's really going on. And there was like 17 million minks, if y'all don't remember, that were murdered just a couple of weeks ago. Okay, a few weeks back. But the simulation taught them a lot. And I find this interesting, especially the fact that a major hammer would have to be imposed on the entire population. Like, it'd have to be hard, Certain disease control centers that are underground have been compromised by volcanism. I told you those hideouts weren't going to work. There is no way they can keep accountability of these studied diseases. And I'm like, okay, so not only is it their fault, but they can't stop it, and they expect us just to stay at home. Why they have these parties? None of that makes sense. Nothing. Okay. So Paul moves on to asteroids. And he's like, dude, it's like they're happening every day. And Mike's like, yeah, it's building up. But, and this is where the title came from. He said, now is a good time to think about post-impact. That we're headed right into a cluttered part of space, which I already knew that. But he's saying, as I suspected already, that, data is being censored and scrubbed so people can feel in their souls that something's wrong, but they can't find the proof. But we are kind of finding it, like emergency management with Tyler, I think is the name of it. He's showing us volcanic problems and earthquake issues every day that are being scrubbed, because he can find it on some reporting sites and then not on others. You too? Mm-hmm. All right. But then he says something really crazy, okay? That we could have militant activity soon. And on top of that, he says, we're at the brink of war. In all actuality, that's really what's going on. He says, America's divided. And if America's caught up in internal affairs in our military, and that's when Mike is stopped, right? I hate it when it happens. But Chuck Youngbrandt had actually said this back in the 80s. He said, when we get invaded, that our country would be caught up in our own personal internal affairs. He said that exactly, and that is what's happening. Okay, so we're not just talking about a military divide. Mike was talking about people that would be in America. They're kind of like a referee, but they're not American. They're just here to referee. I don't think that's what's ultimately what that's gonna be. It looks like a hostile takeover to me. But they're worried about our health, y'all. Okay? Are you kidding me? Okay? I might have already lost several of you. Yeah, we were just talking about that, Micah. We absolutely were. About the federal, they might not. Hopefully, we'll hear more about that soon. Shepherds have left the flock astray to wander the mountains. Right now, we got the blind leading the blind. Hi, Earth Changes. Very good to talk to you. It's been a couple of weeks, right? Hopefully we'll be able to talk soon. I'm glad to have you here, brother. Really glad. Ray J, better late than never sometimes, right? Glad to hear that you're here. Glad to see that you're here. Okay, and let's see here. Okay, so Mike ends with talking about sensors being put on the highway. So now he's not just talking about how that we're going to have people from other countries here, but he's starting to talk about these concrete structures that are going to start popping up in the highways. Those are otherwise known as checkpoints. All right. And there is usually military, authoritarian kind of personnel there. So what I'm hearing from him is America is about to be something that it looks like America's dying. If you want, I mean, how are we supposed to have an America if it's not even run by Americans anymore? And all in the name of what? Why do they feel they need to contain us like that? I mean, we could die of starvation at this point because we can't go to work. So really, what do they care about? I don't see it. I don't see any love here. I don't see them paying us to stay home. That's something they argue about. It's like some kind of narcissistic trick, oh yeah, this future promises talk, but psych, wasn't really for you. It's for, as usual, the corporate bailouts, And for all these things, Christmas doesn't feel like Christmas. Once in a while, I hear somebody playing Christmas or 1 out of 1,000 houses might actually have Christmas lights on it. But nobody that I've seen has the Christmas spirit whatsoever. It is not Christmas this year. It's just not. So I'm going to take a quick look at the last comments. This is just a year where basically you need to be thankful for what you have and really appreciate the family that's around you, because we don't know how much worse this is going to get. We don't know if this was even our, it looks like last Christmas was last chance to see our family. I was hoping to see my own dad, but he couldn't come out until he got his COVID results. And then when he did, his job was in lockdown, shut down. So yeah, I won't see my dad till after the first of the year anyway. I was hoping to see him, but hopefully, but just whatever you do have, the people you have around you, try to appreciate them while you can. And remember that time is definitely getting short. I mean, we saw, if there's one thing we knew about Revelation 12, it's that we know that time is short for all of us. All right. So appreciate that and appreciate each other, work together, love each other as many ways and as hard as you can. And that is the best gift you can give this year. All right. I better go ahead and get off the horn, but I wanted to really thank all of you that came tonight. And I pray that God blesses all of you, and we'll talk to each other really, really soon. Okay. Love y'all. Bye.